Kim Dae-ho sat in his chair at the big round table. The Galactic Council meeting room was huge. Hundreds of different alien species filled the space. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had multiple eyes or strange colors. Dae-ho was used to this by now. He had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years. Today was supposed to be a normal meeting about trade routes. Nothing exciting. Just boring talk about shipping costs and tax rates. Dae-ho had brought his usual coffee in a metal cup. The aliens always stared at it. They thought human drinks were weird. The meeting started like always. Council leader Thexani, a tall blue creature with 4 arms, called for order. Her voice echoed through the room. Different species stopped their chattering and turned to listen. Today we discuss the new shipping lanes through Sector 7, Thexani said. Her translator made her words sound robotic. The Kelthans have requested, but she never finished. A loud bang echoed through the room. The main doors opened with a crash. Heavy footsteps marched in. Dae-ho turned to look. A group of Vorthak soldiers entered. They were big, gray creatures with thick skin like armor. Their leader was even bigger than the rest. His name was General Kralthex. Dae-ho knew him from the files. The Vorthak were known for being aggressive. They loved war and conquest. The room went silent. Even the translator machines stopped humming. Kralthex walked to the center of the room. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. "I demand to speak," Kralthex said. His voice was deep and rough. "The Vorthak Empire has an important announcement." Thexani looked confused. "General, this is not the time. We are discussing trade matters. If you want to speak, you must wait for—" "No waiting," Kralthex interrupted. He raised one of his 4 arms. "This cannot wait. The safety of the galaxy depends on it." Murmurs started around the room. Different aliens began talking to each other. Dae-ho took a sip of his coffee and watched. Something felt wrong. The Vorthak never cared about galaxy safety before. "Very well," Thexani said. She sounded tired. "You may speak, General." Kralthex stood taller. His small red eyes scanned the room. When they stopped on Dae-ho, the human felt a chill. There was hatred there. "Fellow council members," Kralthex began, "we face a great threat, a species that will destroy us all if we do not act. They pretend to be peaceful. They smile and talk about friendship, but they are dangerous. More dangerous than any enemy we have ever faced." The room was completely quiet now. Dae-ho set down his coffee cup. He had a bad feeling about where this was going. "Who are you talking about?" asked Veltar, a small green alien from the Nixari. "What species threatens us?" Kralthex pointed directly at Dae-ho. Every eye, tentacle, and sensor in the room turned to stare at the human. "The humans," Kralthex said. "They must be stopped before they spread their chaos to the rest of the galaxy." The silence that followed was complete. Dae-ho could hear his own heartbeat. He looked around the room. The other aliens looked shocked. Some looked confused. A few looked scared. "General," Thexani said slowly, "are you saying you want to attack humanity?" "I am saying we will attack humanity," Kralthex corrected. "The Vorthak Empire has decided. In 30 standard days we will launch a full invasion of the Sol system. We will remove this threat once and for all." Now the room exploded. Aliens started shouting in dozens of languages. The translator machines went crazy trying to keep up. Some species stood up from their seats. Others moved away from Dae-ho as if he might explode. Dae-ho just sat there. He picked up his coffee and took another sip. It was still warm. "Silence," Thexani shouted. Her 4 arms waved in the air. Slowly, the room quieted down. "General Kralthex, this is madness. You cannot just attack a council member species." "They are not true council members," Kralthex said. "They are pretenders. Look at them, one small planet, weak technology. They have been lying to us all." An old Zephyrian named Wisetel stood up. His species was ancient and respected. "General, you do not understand what you are suggesting." "I understand perfectly," Kralthex snapped. "The humans are unpredictable. They do not follow proper rules. They ask too many questions. They change things. This cannot be allowed. Another alien spoke up. It was Harjun from the Kelthon Federation. General, we strongly advise against this action. You do not know what you are dealing with. We know exactly what we are dealing with, Kraltek said. A young species with primitive weapons and no real military. They will surrender in days. More aliens started speaking. All of them were telling Kraltex the same thing. Don't do it. This is a mistake. You don't understand. But the Vorthak general ignored them all. Deho finally stood up. The room went quiet again. All eyes turned to him. He was much smaller than most of the aliens. He looked weak compared to the massive Kraltex. General, Deho said. His voice was calm and quiet. Are you sure about this? Kraltex laughed. It was a harsh sound. Look at him. He asks if I am sure. Yes, human, I am sure. Your species ends in 30 days. Deho nodded slowly. 30 days. That's very specific. May I ask why you're giving us warning? Because we are honorable warriors, Kraltek said. We give you a chance to surrender, save your people, give up your colonies, accept Vorthak rule, or be destroyed. I see, Deho said. He looked around, the room at all the worried alien faces. Then he looked back at Kralthex. And if we refuse? Then you die, Kralthex said simply. Deho was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. It was a small smile, but several aliens noticed it. Some of them started looking nervous. General, Deho said, I need to contact my government. This is a big decision. You have 30 days, Kralthex repeated. Use them wisely. The Vorthak general turned and marched out of the room. His soldiers followed. The heavy doors closed. Behind them with another loud bang. For a few seconds nobody moved. Then everyone started talking at once. This is terrible, said Veltar. The humans don't deserve this, added Harjun. Someone must stop the Vorthak, Wistel said. But Deho wasn't listening to any of them. He was already reaching for his communication device. He had calls to make, important calls. As he walked toward the exit, several aliens tried to stop him. Ambassador Deho, Thexani called. What will you do? Deho turned back. That small smile was still on his face. I'm going to call home, he said. My people need to know about this. Will you surrender? Asked a small Nexari. Deho thought about this question. He thought about Earth. He thought about the things the Vorthak didn't know, the things nobody in this room knew. I don't think so, he said finally. Then he left the room. Behind him, the aliens continued talking. Many of them were making bets, not on whether humanity would survive. Everyone knew they wouldn't. The bets were on how long it would take the Vorthak to win. Most aliens guessed 3 days. A few optimistic ones said a week. None of them bet on humanity. As Deho walked down the corridor, he pulled out his secure communicator. Time to wake up some very important people back on Earth. This was going to be interesting. The 30-day countdown had begun. 28 days had passed since General Kralthex made his threat. The Vorthak war fleet was huge. 500 of their best warships moved through space toward Earth. Each ship was as big as a city. They carried thousands of soldiers and enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Admiral Song Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Soul's Pride. She was watching the sensor readings. The Vorthak fleet would arrive in 2 hours. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly. Nobody seemed worried. Admiral, said Lieutenant Yoon Haijin at the sensor station, the enemy fleet is slowing down. They're getting ready to exit hyperspace. Good, Song Jiwoo said. Are our people ready? Yes, ma'am. All stations report ready. Song Jiwoo nodded. She looked out the main window at the space around Earth. To most people, it would look empty, just stars and darkness, but she knew better. Earth's defenses were everywhere. The Vorthak just couldn't see them yet. The Admiral touched her communication device. This is Song Jiwoo to all stations. The guests are almost here. Everyone knows what to do. Across the solar system, humans got ready, but not in the way the Vorthak expected. Captain Lee Min-ho was on the mining station New Busan in the asteroid belt. His station looked like a simple rock mining operation. Big machines pulled metals from asteroids. Worker ships moved back and forth. Everything looked normal and peaceful. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we're getting the signal. The Vorthak fleet is about to arrive." "Understood," Lee Min-ho said. "Begin the transformation." What happened next would have shocked any alien observer. The mining machines started changing. Metal panels slid away. Hidden weapon systems appeared. The simple mining station became a fortress in minutes. The same thing was happening all over the asteroid belt. Dozens of mining stations revealed their true nature. They were weapons platforms. All of them were pointed toward where the Vorthak fleet would appear. On Earth, Park So-jin sat in the Defense Command Center. She was watching hundreds of screens. Each one showed a different part of the solar system. Her job was to coordinate Earth's defense. But as she watched the preparations, she knew this wouldn't be a defense, it would be a demonstration. "Ma'am," said analyst Choi Yu-ri, "we're picking up Vorthak communications. They're excited. They think this will be easy." "Let them think that," Park So-jin said. "How are our hidden colonies doing?" "All reporting ready," Yuri replied. "The Mars base, the Europa station, and the 3 outer system facilities. The Vorthak don't even know they exist." Park So-jin smiled. The Vorthak had done their homework, but not well enough. They thought humans only lived on Earth. They were wrong. The Vorthak fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. General Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominator. He was Kralthex's best military commander. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Vorthak Empire. "Report," Vextar demanded. "Sir, we are detecting the human homeworld," said his sensor officer. "And, sir, there are ships waiting for us." "How many?" "About 50, sir. Small vessels. They look weak." Vextar laughed. 50 ships against 500, the humans are more foolish than I thought." But his laugh stopped when the sensor officer spoke again. "Sir, I'm detecting more contacts. Many more. They're coming from everywhere." On the Vorthak sensors, new ships kept appearing. They seemed to come from empty space. Some came from behind, asteroids. Others just appeared as if they had been invisible. "How many now?" Vextar asked. 200. No, 300, sir. They keep appearing. I count over 400 human ships now." Vextar was confused but not worried. "Still, not enough. Order the fleet to advance. We will destroy them quickly." The Vorthak fleet moved forward. Their ships were massive and powerful. Each one could fight 10 smaller ships and win. Or so they thought. Admiral Song Ji-woo watched the enemy fleet approach. Her ship was at the front of the human formation. Around her were ships that looked simple and basic. The Vorthak would think they were easy targets. "Admiral," said her communications officer, "incoming message from the Vorthak fleet." "Put it on screen." General Vextar's ugly face appeared on the bridge screen. "Human fleet, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Song Ji-woo stood up. She was a small woman compared to the massive Vorthak general, but her voice was steady and calm. "General Vextar, this is Admiral Song Ji-woo of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have 15 minutes to turn around and leave our system. This is your only warning." Vextar laughed loudly. "You warn me? Look at your tiny ships. Look at your small fleet. You cannot stop us." 14 minutes and 30 seconds, Song Ji-woo said. The communication ended. On the bridge of the Dominator, Vextar was angry. "Stupid humans," he growled. "All ships, attack formation. We will show them what real power looks like." The Vorthak fleet spread out into battle formation. Their ships charged their weapons. Energy readings spiked across the solar system, but the humans weren't afraid. Captain Nam Tae-young was on a ship that looked like a simple cargo vessel. His crew was getting ready for battle. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "the Vorthak are charging their main guns." "Good," Nam Tae-young said. "Let them think we're helpless. On my mark, drop the disguise." All over the human fleet, the same thing was happening. Ships that looked weak and simple were getting ready to show their true nature. The 15 minutes passed quickly. Song Ji-woo looked at her timer. Time was up. All ships, she said into her communicator. You may begin. What happened next shocked the Vorthak fleet. The simple human cargo ship suddenly changed. Hull panels fell away. Massive weapons appeared. Engines that had seemed small and weak suddenly blazed with incredible power. The weak human fleet transformed into something terrifying. Ship Commander Shin Da-eun was on a vessel that had looked like a research ship. Now it revealed weapon systems that the Vorthak had never seen before. Energy weapons that glowed with strange colors. Missile launchers that seemed to bend space around them. All weapons ready, her crew reported. Fire, Shin Da-eun ordered. The first shots from the human fleet hit the Vorthak formation like lightning. But these weren't normal weapons. The energy beams passed right through Vorthak shields, as if they weren't there. They hit hull armor and made it simply disappear. What was that? Vextar shouted. How did they penetrate our shields? His sensor officer was staring at his instruments in shock. Sir, I don't know. Our shields are still up, but their weapons went right through them. More human weapons fired. Vorthak ships started taking damage, heavy damage. Ships that had never been hurt in battle were suddenly missing pieces. Return fire, Vextar ordered. All ships, return fire. The Vorthak fleet shot back. Thousands of energy beams and missiles flew toward the human ships. The weapons were powerful enough to destroy small moons. But when they hit the human fleet, something impossible happened. The human ships didn't explode. They didn't even seem damaged. The powerful Vorthak weapons just bounced off or disappeared. Sir, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. Our weapons aren't working. They're not even scratching the human ships. Vextar couldn't believe it. That's impossible. Our weapons can destroy anything. Not anything. Song Ji-woo's voice came over the communication channel. General, you have 10 minutes to withdraw. After that, we stop being nice. Nice? Vextar shouted. You call this nice? You're destroying my ships. He looked at his battle display. In just 5 minutes of fighting, he had lost 40 ships. The humans hadn't lost a single vessel. This was supposed to be an easy conquest. Instead, it was becoming a nightmare. All ships, he ordered, full power attack, everything we have. The Vorthak fleet launched everything. Energy weapons, missiles, plasma cannons, gravity bombs. The space around Earth filled with deadly fire. But the human ships moved like they were dancing. They dodged attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. They moved faster than Vorthak sensors could track, and their return fire was devastating. More Vorthak ships exploded or went dead in space. Sir, the communications officer said, we're getting distress calls from the entire fleet. Ships are requesting permission to retreat. Vextar's world was falling apart. This was supposed to be a glorious victory. Instead, his mighty fleet was being torn apart by ships that had looked like harmless cargo vessels. 10 minutes are up, General, Song Ji-woo's voice said again. You chose poorly. That's when the real surprise began. New human ships started appearing. Not just a few. Hundreds of them. They came from everywhere. From behind moons, from the outer planets, from directions where nothing should exist. Where are they coming from? Vextar demanded. His sensor officer was crying now. Sir, they're coming from our blind spots. From places we didn't scan. I think they've been here all along. The truth was becoming clear. The Vorthak hadn't surprised the humans. The humans had been waiting for them. This whole thing was a trap, and the Vorthak fleet had flown right into it. General Vextar stared at his battle screens in horror. Half of his mighty fleet was gone. 250 ships destroyed or disabled in just 6 hours. The humans hadn't even tried hard yet. Sir, his tactical officer said, we need to retreat. This is not going as planned. No, Vexatar growled. The Vorthak Empire does not retreat. We are the strongest military in the galaxy. We will find a way to win. But even as he spoke, more of his ships were dying. The human fleet moved. Like nothing he had ever seen. Their ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. They struck from impossible angles. They seemed to know exactly where his ships would be before they got there. Captain Jang Hyun-woo was having the time of his life. His ship, Soul's Shadow, was completely invisible to Vorthak sensors. He could fly right next to enemy ships and they would never know he was there. "Sir," his weapons officer Kim Na-young said, "we have a clear shot at their command ship." "Not yet," Jang Hyun-woo replied. "We want to capture it, not destroy it. Use the boarding pods." The Soul's Shadow moved closer to the Vorthak flagship, Dominator. Hidden doors opened on its hull. Small pods shot out toward the enemy ship. Each pod carried a team of human soldiers. The pods passed right through the Vorthak shields like they weren't there. They attached to the hull and began cutting their way inside. "Sir," the Vorthak security chief reported to Vextar. "We have intruders. They're inside the ship somehow." "How is that possible?" Vextar demanded. "Our shields are still up." "I don't know, sir. But they're here. Deck 7, Section 12. What the Vorthak didn't know was that the human boarding teams had studied their ships for years. Every corridor, every room, every system. The humans knew Vorthak ships better than the Vorthak did. Sergeant Bae Soo-jin led her team through the enemy ship. She moved like she had lived there her whole life. Her soldiers followed, their weapons ready but not firing. They had orders to capture, not kill. "Left turn here," she told her team. "The command center is 3 decks up." "How do you know the layout so well?" asked Private Oh Dong-min. "We've been preparing for this day for a long time," Bae Soo-jin said. "Much longer than you think." The boarding teams moved through the Vorthak ship like water flowing downhill. They avoided the main defensive positions. They knew where the security cameras were and how to avoid them. They knew which corridors the Vorthak would use and which ones they wouldn't. "This is impossible," Vexitar said as reports came in. "How? Do they know our ship so well?" His security chief was sweating. "Sir, they're not fighting our security teams, they're just avoiding them. It's like they know exactly where we'll be." Outside the ship, the battle continued. But it wasn't really a battle anymore, it was a demonstration. The human ships moved in perfect formation. They disabled Vorthak vessels with surgical precision. No shots wasted, no unnecessary destruction. Admiral Song Ji-woo watched from her bridge. Her fleet was performing exactly as planned. Every move had been practiced hundreds of times. Every tactic had been tested. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to know what's happening." "Put them through," Song Ji-woo said. The screen showed dozens of alien faces. All of them looked shocked and confused. At the center was Council Leader Thexani. "Admiral Song," Thexani said, "what is happening there? Our sensors show a massive battle." "No battle," Song Ji-woo replied calmly. "Just a small disagreement. It will be over soon." "Our readings show the Vorthak fleet is being destroyed," said Veltar from the Nexari. "Not destroyed," Song Ji-woo corrected. "Disabled. We don't destroy things unless we have to." The aliens looked at each other in amazement. The most powerful military fleet in the galaxy was being taken apart by humans, and the human admiral was calling it a small disagreement. "How is this possible?" asked Wisetel from the Zephyrians. "The Vorthak have the strongest ships in the galaxy," Song Ji-woo smiled. "They had the strongest ships. Technology moves fast when you put your mind to it." Back on the Dominator, Vexitar was getting desperate. More than half his fleet was gone. The human boarding teams were getting closer to the bridge, and his remaining ships couldn't even hit the enemy. "Sir," his sensor officer said, "I'm detecting something new. More human ships are appearing throughout our territory." "What do you mean, our territory?" "Sir, human ships are appearing around our homeworlds, our colonies, our supply bases. They're everywhere." Vextar felt his blood turn cold. "How many ships?" "Thousands, sir. They're surrounding every Vorthak world simultaneously." The general's legs went weak. He fell into his command chair. This was impossible. The humans had seemed like a small, weak species. How could they have ships everywhere? The bridge doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. When it cleared, human soldiers stood in the doorway. They wore armor that seemed to bend light around it. Their weapons glowed with soft blue energy. "General Vextar," Sergeant Bae Soo-jin said, You are now a prisoner of the Earth Defense Force. How? Vextar whispered. How did you get past all our defenses? We've been studying your defenses. For 50 years, Baisujin replied. We know them better than you do. The human soldiers moved efficiently through the bridge. They disabled weapons and secured the crew. Nobody was hurt, but everyone was captured. This is not possible, Vextar said. We are the Vorthak Empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds. Had, corrected Baisujin. You had conquered dozens of worlds. That's over now. Admiral Song Jiwoo's voice came over the ship's communication system. General Vextar, this is Admiral Song. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your empire is surrounded. You have one choice left. What choice? Vextar asked weakly. Surrender completely, or we demonstrate why every other species in the galaxy warned you not to do this. Vextar looked around his captured bridge. His mighty flagship was now a human prison. His invincible fleet was scattered wreckage. His empire was surrounded by enemies he had never seen coming. What do you want? He asked. First, the immediate recall of all Vorthak military forces to your home system, Song Jiwoo said. Second, the disbanding of your conquest fleets. Third, reparations to all the species you have conquered. And if we refuse? Then we stop being gentle. Vextar thought about this. The humans called this being gentle? They had destroyed his fleet in hours. They had infiltrated his ship like it was made of paper. They had somehow surrounded his entire empire without anyone noticing. How long have you been planning this? He asked. Planning what? Song Jiwoo replied. We weren't planning to attack you. We were planning to defend ourselves. There's a difference. You surrounded our empire in one day, that's not defense. General, we've had ships near your worlds for 30 years. We didn't put them there to attack you. We put them there to watch you, to make sure you didn't attack anyone else. The truth hit Vextar like a physical blow. You've been watching us for 30 years? We've been watching everyone for 50 years, Song Jiwoo said. Did you think we were sitting on our one little planet doing nothing? We've been busy. Very busy. On the bridge of the Soul's Shadow, Captain Jang Hyun-woo was looking at reports from across the galaxy. Human ships were revealing themselves everywhere. Ships that had been hiding near alien worlds for decades. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels or research stations. Sir, Kim Na-young said, we're getting reports from all sectors. Every major power in the galaxy is asking for emergency meetings. They want to know how many ships we have. Tell them we have enough, Jang Hyun-woo replied. The truth was staggering. While other species had been fighting each other or exploring new systems, humanity had been spreading quietly through the galaxy. They had established hidden bases everywhere. They had studied every alien technology and improved on it. They had prepared for this day. Sir, the communications officer said, message from Earth Command. They want to know if we should reveal the full extent of our capabilities. Jang Hyun-woo thought about this. Right now, the galaxy thought humanity had a few hundred advanced ships. They didn't know about the thousands of other vessels. They didn't know about the colony worlds. They didn't know about the technologies that made today's demonstration look simple. Not yet, he decided. Let them think this is all we have for now. Back on the Dominator, General Vextar was learning just how wrong he had been about humanity. The human soldiers were not cruel or violent. They treated the captured Vorthak crew with respect. They provided medical care to the wounded. They shared their food and water. Why are you being kind to us? Vexatar asked Sergeant Baisujin. We came to destroy your world. Because that's what humans do, she replied. We protect people, even our enemies. But we are your enemies. You were our enemies. Now you're just people who made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Vextar had never met anyone like these humans. In his experience, victory meant cruelty. Conquest meant suffering. But these humans acted like they were rescuing the Vorthak, not defeating them. I don't understand your species, he said. Most people don't, Baisujin replied. That's why they keep underestimating us. The last of the Vorthak fleet surrendered 3 hours later. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Not a single human soldier had been killed. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been defeated, without the humans even trying hard. The news of the Vorthak defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light travel. Within hours, every major species knew what had happened. The mighty Vorthak Empire, conquerors of worlds, had been crushed in a single day by humans. Ambassador Ryu Sung-ho was sitting in his office on the Nexari homeworld when the emergency calls started coming in. The Nexari were known for their advanced technology and careful planning. They never panicked. But today was different. Ambassador Ryu, said High Chancellor Vexani, a tall purple being with multiple tentacles. We need to talk immediately. Ryu Sung-ho had been Earth's ambassador to the Nexari for 2 years. He liked his job because it was usually quiet. The Nexari were peaceful and logical. They avoided conflicts and focused on science. Of course, Chancellor, Ryu said. What can I do for you? We want to form a defense alliance with humanity immediately, Vexani said without any delay. We are prepared to offer you our most advanced technologies. Ryu raised an eyebrow. That's very generous. May I ask why? Vexani's tentacles moved, nervously. Because if humans can destroy the Vorthak fleet in 6 hours, we want to be your friends, not your enemies. Similar conversations were happening all over the galaxy. Trade negotiator Lim A-Ra was on the Kelthan homeworld when their government offered humanity exclusive trading rights to their entire system. The Kelthans were usually very careful with their business deals. Today they were practically giving things away. We want to be humanity's closest allies, said Trade Minister Kelhan. Whatever you need, we can provide. That's very kind, Lim A-Ra said. But may I ask what changed? Kelhan looked embarrassed. Yesterday we thought humans were weak and primitive. Today we learned we were very wrong. We would prefer to correct our mistake before it becomes a bigger problem. Meanwhile, Kang Jin-soo was having the most interesting day of his career. He was officially Earth's cultural exchange coordinator. Unofficially, he gathered intelligence on alien species. Today, every alien government was practically begging to tell him their secrets. We want to share all our military research with humanity, said Defense Minister Yorkian of the Delvac Republic. In exchange, we hope for your protection. Protection? From what? Kang Jin-soo asked. From anyone who might want to attack us, Yorkian replied. If they see we are allied with humanity, they will think twice. The most amusing call came to Dr. Hong Mi-kyung. She was a xenobiologist who studied alien psychology. She had written papers about why different species acted the way they did. Today, every alien government wanted to hire her as a consultant. Dr. Hong, said Scientific Council leader Zalpeth of the Iridian Collective, we need to understand human thinking. We want to know how your minds work. Why the sudden interest? Hong Mi-kyung asked. Because clearly we have been studying the wrong species, Zalpeth admitted. We thought we were the advanced ones. We were wrong. Back in the Sol system, the captured Vorthak fleet was learning just how wrong they had been about everything. General Vextar was on a human medical ship, getting treatment for his injuries. He was amazed by what he saw. The human doctors were using medical technology that was decades ahead of anything the Vorthak had. They healed wounds in minutes that would take weeks using Vorthak medicine. But more importantly, they were healing. Vorthak soldiers, their enemies, why are you helping us? Vextar asked Dr. Yu Sang-min, the chief medical officer. Because you're hurt. Dr. Yu replied simply. We help hurt people. That's what doctors do. But we came to destroy your world. Yes, and that was wrong. But being wrong doesn't mean you deserve to suffer. Vextar was learning that humans thought very differently from Vorthak. In his culture, enemies were to be crushed and humiliated. Mercy was weakness. But these humans showed mercy from a position of strength. It was confusing and frightening. How many ships do you really have, Fro? He asked. Dr. Yu smiled. More than we needed today. That wasn't really an answer, but it was all Vextar was going to get. The truth was that even the humans in the Sol system didn't know how many ships Earth had built. The shipyards were scattered across dozens of hidden systems. Production had been going on for 50 years. Admiral Song Ji-woo was getting reports from around the galaxy. Every major power was requesting emergency meetings with Earth. Some wanted alliances, others wanted to surrender before humanity attacked them. Admiral, her communications officer said, the Zaldak Consortium is offering to give us 3 star systems if we promise not to invade them. Tell them we weren't planning to invade them anyway, Song Ji-woo replied. The Rillan Empire wants to know if we're accepting tribute payments. Tell them we don't want tribute, we want peace. The Corvin Federation is asking if they can join the Earth Alliance. Tell them there is no Earth Alliance. Yet, the most interesting message came from the Galactic Council itself. Council leader Thexani was requesting an emergency session to discuss the new galactic situation. Everyone wanted to know what humanity planned to do next. Park Jun-ho was chosen to be Earth's new representative to this special session. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but this was the biggest assignment of his career. He was about to reshape galactic politics. The emergency council session was unlike anything in galactic history. Every species sent their highest representatives. The huge chamber was packed. But this time, when the human representative entered, everyone stood up in respect. Representative Park, Thexani said, "Thank you for coming. The council has many questions." "I'm here to answer them," Park Jun-ho replied. "First," said Veltar, from the Nexari, "how long have humans had this level of technology?" "We've been developing it for 50 years, Park said honestly. "Where did you get it?" asked Wisetel from the Zephyrians. "We made it ourselves. We're good at learning from others and making improvements." This was true, but not the whole truth. Humans had indeed learned from alien technology, but they had improved it far beyond what any single species had achieved. "How many ships do you have?" asked the Kelthan representative. "Enough," Park replied with a smile. "What are your intentions?" asked the Delvac representative. "Do you plan to conquer the galaxy?" This was the question everyone wanted answered. The chamber fell silent. Every alien in the room held their breath. Park Jun-ho stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the worried faces. Then he spoke clearly and calmly. "Earth has no interest in conquest. We never have. What we do have is an interest in peace. For 50 years we have been watching this galaxy. We have seen wars that could have been prevented. We have seen species destroyed that could have been saved. We have seen suffering that didn't need to happen." He paused to let this sink in. "We didn't reveal ourselves because we wanted to rule you. We revealed ourselves because someone forced our hand. The Vorthak thought they could attack humanity without consequences. They were wrong." "What happens now?" asked Thexani. "Now we stop hiding," Park said. "For 50 years we have been the galaxy's secret guardians. We prevented wars you never knew about. We stopped invasions you never heard of. We have been protecting all of you while you thought we were weak and primitive." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Secret guardians. The humans had been protecting them? "That's impossible," said the Vorthak representative who had replaced Kralthex. "We would have known." "Would you?" Park asked. "How many times did your conquest fleets have mysterious technical failures? How many times did your target worlds suddenly develop better defenses? How many times did your enemies get lucky intelligence about your plans?" The Vorthak representative's face went pale. There had been many such incidents over the years. Too many to be coincidence. "You sabotaged us," he accused. "We prevented you from committing genocide," Park corrected. "There's a difference." Wisetel, from the Zephyrians, spoke up. "The human is telling the truth. My people have records of mysterious interventions during the border wars 30 years ago. Ships appeared from nowhere to stop massacres. Then they disappeared. We thought they were ghosts." "Not ghosts," Park said. "Humans." "How many conflicts have you prevented?" asked Thexani. "In the last 50 years. 17 major wars, 6 attempted genocides, and dozens of smaller conflicts," Park replied. "We didn't do it for glory or thanks. We did it because it was right." The chamber was completely silent now. Every alien was processing this information. The weak primitive humans had been protecting them all along. "What do you want from us now?" asked the Nexari representative. Park Jun-ho looked around the room one more time. Then he made the announcement that would change everything. "We want to formalize what we've been doing informally. We want to create a real peacekeeping organization, one with the power to stop conflicts before they start, one that protects the weak and prevents the strong from abusing their power." "Are you talking about replacing the Galactic Council?" Thexani asked carefully. "I'm talking about fixing it," Park replied. "The Council talks about peace, but it has no way to enforce peace. That needs to change. And humanity would lead this organization?" Park thought about this question. It was the most important question of the day. "We would if we have to," he said finally. "But we'd prefer to work together. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want it to be safe." The aliens looked at each other. They were being offered a choice. 6 months had passed since the Vorthak defeat. The galaxy was a very different place now. Ambassador Kim Dae-ho stood where it all began, in the same council chamber where General Kralthex had made his foolish threat. But everything had changed. The Galactic Council was now called the Terran Protectorate Council. The name change wasn't just symbolic. It represented a complete shift in how the galaxy worked. Instead of just talking about problems, they could now actually solve them. Park Jun-ho was now the Council's chief coordinator. It was a new position created specifically for humanity. He had the power to deploy peacekeeping forces anywhere in the galaxy. It was a big responsibility, but one that humanity had already been handling in secret for 50 years. "Order in the chamber," Park Jun-ho called out. The room fell silent immediately. 6 months ago, it took several minutes to get everyone's attention. Now, when a human spoke, everyone listened. "Today we discussed the request from the Rigel colony," Park continued. "They are asking for protection from raiders." This was the kind of problem the old council would have debated for months. They would have formed committees and held discussions. By the time they decided what to do, the raiders would have destroyed the colony. "Motion to approve immediate protection," said Veltar from the Nexari. "Seconded," added Harjun from the Kelthans. "All in favor?" Park asked. Every hand, tentacle, and appendage in the room went up. The vote was unanimous, as most votes were. "These days, fleet deployment authorized," Park said. He touched his communication device. "Admiral Song, we have a mission for you." On her flagship in the Sol system, Admiral Song Ji-woo received the orders. "Understood. The Fourth Fleet will deploy immediately." What happened next would have been impossible 6 months ago. A human fleet of 50 ships appeared near the Rigel colony within hours. The raiders took one look at the Earth Defense Force ships and decided to find easier targets somewhere else. Problem solved. No one hurt. This was happening all over the galaxy now. Pirates were finding new careers. Aggressive species were becoming peaceful. Wars were ending before they started. All because everyone knew humanity was watching. Director Seo Hyo-jin was running the Galactic Rehabilitation Program from her office on Luna. Her job was to help former troublemakers become productive members of galactic society. Her biggest project was the Vorthak Empire. "How are our former enemies doing?" asked her assistant Lieutenant Yu Sang-min. "Better than expected," Seo Hyo-jin replied, looking at her reports. "The Vorthak are natural engineers. Once they stopped focusing on weapons, they've become excellent builders. They're constructing hospitals and schools instead of warships." This had been humanity's approach to the Vorthak problem. Instead of punishment, they offered rehabilitation. Instead of destroying the Vorthak Empire, they helped it transform into something better. General Vexitar was now Construction Supervisor Vexitar. He was overseeing the building of a new hospital on a world his people had once conquered. It was strange work for a former military officer, but he was discovering he enjoyed it. "Supervisor," one of his workers called out, "the human engineers want to know if you approve the foundation design." Vexitar looked at the plans. The humans had included features that Vorthak engineering never would have considered. Earthquake. Resistance, emergency evacuation routes, backup power systems. They planned for everything. Approved, he said, and ask them to teach us how to build like this. This was happening across the former Vorthak Empire. Human engineers were sharing their knowledge freely. They didn't demand payment or loyalty. They just wanted to help build a better galaxy. Moon Che-wan was Earth's new diplomatic corps specialist. Her job was to handle the flood of requests for alliances, trade deals, and protection agreements. Every day brought new proposals from species that wanted to work with humanity. We have 17 new alliance requests today, her assistant reported. What's the most interesting one? Moon Che-wan asked. The Zaldak Consortium wants to give us exclusive rights to mine their asteroid fields in exchange for protection from space pirates. And the strangest? The Iridian Collective wants to pay us to teach them how to think like humans. Moon Che-wan laughed. 6 months ago, aliens thought humans were primitive. Now they wanted to learn everything about human culture, technology, and thinking. The most important meeting of the day was happening in the old council leader's office. Thexani had stepped down from her position, but she remained as an advisor. Today she was meeting with the heads of all the major galactic powers. The transformation is proceeding better than we hoped, she told the assembled representatives. Galactic conflicts are down by 90%. Trade is up by 300%. Most importantly, civilian casualties from wars have dropped to nearly zero. All because humans revealed themselves, said Wisetel from the Zephyrians. All because humans were already protecting us, corrected Veltar from the Nexari. We just didn't know it. This was the truth that had shocked the galaxy. For 50 years, while everyone thought humans were weak and unimportant, they had been the secret force keeping the peace. They had prevented wars, stopped genocides, and protected the innocent, all without asking for credit or reward. What amazes me most, said the Kelthan representative, is that they could have ruled us all along. They had the power to conquer the galaxy decades ago, but they chose to protect us instead. That's what makes them different, Thexani replied. Most species seek power for themselves. Humans seek power to help others. In the medical bay of a space station near the former Vorthak border, Dr. Yu Sang-min was training alien doctors in human medical techniques. The procedures that had amazed General Vextar were now being shared with every species that wanted to learn. The key is to treat the whole patient, not just the injury, he explained to his mixed class of alien students. Human medicine focuses on healing, not just stopping symptoms. A Nexari student raised a tentacle. Dr. Yu, why are humans sharing this knowledge freely? You could charge enormous amounts for these techniques. Dr. Yu smiled. Because healing should not be limited by who can afford it. Everyone deserves the best medical care possible. This attitude was typical of humanity's approach to everything. They shared their technology, knowledge, and resources freely. They didn't try to maintain advantages over other species. They wanted everyone to succeed. Back on Earth in the Global Defense Command Center, Park So-jin was monitoring the galaxy. Her screens showed the locations of human fleets, the status of various conflicts, and the general peace levels throughout known space. Ma'am, analyst Choi Yuri reported, we're detecting unusual activity in the outer rim. It looks like a new species might be preparing for aggressive expansion. How new? Park So-jin asked. They just achieved spaceflight last month. They've already attacked 2 smaller species. Send a diplomatic team, Park So-jin ordered. Let's see if we can solve this before it becomes a problem. This was the new way things worked. Instead of waiting for conflicts to develop, humanity acted early. They offered help, guidance, and if necessary, gentle discouragement to species that might cause trouble. The diplomatic team was led by Captain Lee Min-ho, who had once commanded a mining station in the asteroid belt. His ship approached the new species' homeworld openly, broadcasting messages of peace and friendship. Unknown vessels, came the aggressive response. You will leave our territory immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Lee Min-ho of the Earth Diplomatic Corps, he replied calmly. We come in peace. We would like to welcome you to the galactic community. We do not need your welcome, the alien leader responded. We are the Korth Empire. We will take what we want from the galaxy. Lee Min-ho sighed. It was always disappointing when new species chose the aggressive path. But humanity had learned how to handle this situation. I understand your position, he said. But I should mention that the galaxy is under the protection of the Terran Protectorate. We strongly discourage aggressive expansion. We do not fear you, the Korth leader declared. Your ships are small and few. Would you like to see more ships? Lee Min-ho asked politely. At his signal, human vessels began appearing around the Korth homeworld, not attacking, just appearing. Within minutes, there were hundreds of them. All peaceful, all friendly, but all clearly more advanced than anything the Korth had ever seen. How many ships do you have? The Korth leader asked, his voice much quieter. Now, enough, Lee Min-ho replied with a smile. Would you like to discuss peaceful membership in the galactic community instead? The Korth Empire became the newest member of the Terran Protectorate that same day. They abandoned their expansion plans and asked for help developing their technology peacefully. Another problem solved before it became a war. As the months passed, the galaxy continued to change. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together. Technologies that had been military secrets were being shared for the good of everyone. The dream of galactic peace was becoming reality. Kim Dae-ho often thought about that day 6 months ago when General Kralthex had made his threat. The Vorthak general had been so confident, so sure that humanity was weak and primitive. He had no idea that he was declaring war on the galaxy's secret protectors. Are you happy with how things turned out? Park Jun-ho asked him one day.